Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of my favourite people and some of the most talented people in the world. And we've got one for you today. A man who I've loved playing on the radio for over 15 years is Andrew Roachford. He's got a brand new album out called ENCORE, and he joins us now here in the studio in London. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing excellent, mate. Thanks.
Do you know, I think you've probably got the greatest radio record ever. And you're probably going to think I'm going to say Cuddly Toy, but I'm not. How could I? I think is just fabulous.
Thank you. Bless you. Thank you. That's kind of up there in the songs that I like to play. I love that song.
What a fantastic radio song. And it gives a great energy to a show. And live, I know as well, it's so popular. When I look at what you do, you're really everything I'm not. You're just Mr. Cool, aren't you? You've got it all going on. Is there a pressure to be cool?
Well, I think if you were trying to be cool, then there would be a pressure because it becomes an issue. But I don't even know what cool is, to be honest with you. I think the people I think are cool are the ones that who are just themselves. I think if you're yourself, you can't get cooler than that, really.
Well, that's the thing, you see. You are naturally cool. I'm not. You see, you can't buy it, can you? That's the problem.
I think you're selling yourself short there, mate. I'm sure you're pretty cool.
Hey, listen, let's talk about you, because you've got one of those voices that is just the epitome of soul. I guess you can't be taught that. There's no sort of stage school that can teach you how to sing the way you do.
Not really. I think with singing, it's good to sort of learn the technical side of it, but end of the day, when it comes to the feeling, some people are more expressive than others. Let's put it that way. And some people are quite impressive singers, but they don't touch you in that way, and vice versa. I think someone like Stevie Wonder is one of those people that has got both, because he's technical, but then he's so emotive, and that's what soul is. Soul is not just a genre for me. It's a way of singing as far as a place you're singing from.
And your influences are really interesting. When we look, it's not surprising Al Green is one of your influences, because there are similarities. Michael Jackson and Bowie, though, that's interesting. It must have been a big shock for you the other week when we heard about his passing.
Of course it was. I think everyone was shocked about that, and he's been a massive influence, and especially on my approach to recording. And melodically, I think that people don't realize how good he is with melodies. He's incredible. And he seemed to always do it so effortlessly. And that's a mark of a true genius, where it's just flowing out of him like that. And Michael Jackson is like Stevie Wonder to me. It's just like, you can't find many people who don't like at least one Michael Jackson song.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's that broad. And like me, I think Michael, he spanned genres because he was that open and he was that fearless as an artist.
They just did a tribute to him in Vegas, Cirque du Soleil, and it is one of the most magical shows I've ever seen, because you realise his stuff is so anthemic. They're such big tunes, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. It's like arms out and, big stadium rockers. I love it, and I think that he was connected to the songs. He didn't just, especially like the Earth song and all these big songs, I think he had a passion for life and the world, and wanted good things to happen, and he really believed that, and that came across in his music.
When I look at what you do, and having seen you live over the years, there's something quite jazzy about you too. It's hard to pinpoint what you do. You're certainly a pop star. You've certainly got soul, but there's also elements of jazz in there too, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, the whole sort of, I just get on with it, I like what I like, and I find it kind of weird when people only listen to one genre. Like if they're only into rock music or guitar bands, they will not listen to anything else. I find that really impossible to do. And so in my writing, it's impossible for me to go, right, I got to just stick to this, because it just doesn't naturally happen like that. I tend to go, oh, I like this idea for the guitar, and then maybe a bit of that from that funk record, that, and you kind of do that. And that's, again, what I liked about David Bowie, was that he wasn't afraid to do that. He went to New York and worked with all different kinds of musicians, and every album was seen as a separate entity, and he wasn't afraid to do that, because it's not always what people, especially in the media, want, because it makes it harder for them to sort of categorize it and talk about it, because it's easier if you say, well, Andrew Roachford, the soul, or David Bowie, the rock artist, but actually he was more than that.
It's interesting as well when they talk about on The Voice and X Factor about making the song your own. Listening to this new album, ENCORE, which is a glorious celebration of your voice, it shows the diversity of it and how you can do Under the Bridge, which is such a cool song in the one extreme, and then your song at the other, and make them your own. How hard is that?
For me, it comes very naturally. Part of the reason, I think, is that when I started making music or playing music, I started playing in my uncle's band, and he played saxophone, and and there was like lots of older musicians, and they were doing all the standards, and it was like you do weddings, and I hated singing other people's songs, and I used to say to my uncle, I'm going to write my own songs, and he was like, well, they don't know those, and I said, well, I'm going to make sure they, and so I kind of rebelled against singing other people's songs, and then when I finally started venturing there at all, I said, well, I have to do them my own way, because and that's also out of respect for the originals. Like, you can't really do your song better than Elton John's version because it's perfect. So taking it somewhere else and actually showing it in a different light, because I always heard the soul of Elton John, but not everyone can hear that, and I wanted to sort of showcase that.
Do you sit there waiting for the affirmation from, Lord Elton's towers that he actually likes it? Is that the dream?
That would be nice. I mean, I know that, he's a massive fan of my music, and I guess the proof of the pudding is in the buying, because, I mean, my third album, Permanent Shade of Blue, he liked it so much that he decided, right, for Christmas presents, all of his friends were going to get that album, and then went out and brought loads and told me that. And it's a bit surreal, because again, I grew up listening to him on Radio 1 as a kid, and Top of the Pops, and you never think that these people will one day be listening to you and actually appreciating and getting what you do. That's kind of crazy.
Do you know, I just saw him about 3 months ago, and I hadn't realised, what a genius piano player is, because you think of him as the showman. But then you look at his legacy and what he's doing for other artists. I don't think there's any bigger champion of singers and musicians than Elton John right now, is there? He gives you your endorsement. You're suddenly up there with the best.
He's always got his ear to the ground as well, and he is amazing. He's just been, if you think of the catalogue of songs, and he is a great piano player. I remember once I got invited to one of the gigs he was doing at Albert Hall, and I got lost in the backstage area, and I ended up and he was on stage, and I ended up right by his piano, nearly on the stage. I think security were freaking out, but I could hear him like that close, and I was going, wow, because I'm a piano player myself, so I can appreciate what he was doing, and he made it look like it was nothing. So I was like, wow.
And those little stubby fingers as well, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, he's got the sausage fingers, and you wouldn't naturally go piano fingers. You go, right, you're a bass player, aren't you? And but no, he knows his way around the piano, knows what he's doing, and he's written some beautiful melodies, especially. I mean, and that's what I like about your song, is that it has been covered a fair bit, but I just thought, wow, it's such a soulful melody. I wanted to kind of bring that out,
And then we look at also the performing side of it. I mean, Elton's done everything from Caesar's Palace, Las Vegas, to, of course, writing The Lion King and that stuff. Yep. Either way, it's about audiences. And I wonder how that feels. He talks about it in Billy Elliot, doesn't he? That feeling of standing on stage. Does that ever become normal when people have paid to see you and you're the centre of attention and you've got to hold their attention for the next 90 minutes or 2 hours?
I wouldn't ever use the word normal for that experience. I once met this guy who was he's a fairly well-known actor, and he was about to do a film about being a rock star, I guess, and he was asking me, what is it like when you step out on the stage? And I was trying to describe it, but I don't even know half the time, because yes, you do get nervous as you're walking to the stage. I know I do, and most of the people that I've spoken to who do it, but it's a mix of feelings, because there's loads of adrenaline coursing through you, and then you connect to the audience, and then something else happens, and it's like no other experience that I can explain. But there's nothing better than when you've got an audience that just are giving so much, and you're giving so much to them, and it's this rapport that goes on. You feel connected with everyone in the room, whether it's a club or whether it's Wembley Stadium. It's that same thing, and it's amazing on just even a human level what happens.
Yeah, it's got to be inspiring for the soul. And of course, you've had the rare joy of having international success. I mean, not many artists get to be as big around the world as you are. Is it still strange when you sit in a car in the middle of America or South Africa and you hear one of your songs come on the radio?
That is very surreal. I remember anyway, you walk into a burger joint in Perth, Australia, and I'll never forget that. And they were playing my stuff it was just like, okay, and I remember because it was the first time I was in Australia, and that was very weird because it's so far away, and then just random places, hearing your music or people coming up to you, and you just think, wow, it's the power of music, but it's also the power of the industry that it can get the music across to so many people. And now, obviously, with the World Wide Web, it can really reach all the corners of the earth, really.
And It's interesting you've chosen to bring out a CD, an actual physical thing that I can touch here.
I want to bring out vinyl as well. I might do that.
That's coming back too. I wonder what your take is on the business. I mean, you were sort of at the height during the halcyon days when there was money around and people backing and all that stuff.
Yep.
It has changed dramatically. How do you feel as an artist? Does it empower you because you're now in control of everything, or is it frustrating that the money men want to make the money and they don't particularly want to back you if you're not as successful as you were?
It's a double-edged sword, as everything tends to be. On one side of it, it's good. I think it's better for the younger artists who are starting out in the sense that you can find an audience without having to have this record deal. If you don't have a major record deal, then you're stuffed. It's not like that anymore. However, the downloading and the fact that people are, and streaming, so people are expecting to have music for free, is kind of makes it, I don't know where that's going to take the music business in the future, because musicians need to eat, they need to survive, And the thing about streaming is I find it strange that no one really owns music anymore. I also like going to record shops and actually owning my own version. And now when you're streaming, you don't actually ever own it. It's odd.
Your iPhone owns it, doesn't it?
Your iPhone owns it, and it's in cyberspace somewhere, and it's sort of odd. It's an odd thing, but I guess that's how it's going.
Maybe we're just too old, Andrew. Maybe that's the problem.
Maybe. But like I said, there's good things that come out of it as well. It's very easy now to set up your own website, and, it's a level playing field. I think people should, people all should have a fair shot at it. If you've got the talent, I think you should have there's room for good music. There's always room for good music. It's not like there's millions more great songs being written now than there was 25 years ago. So I think people will still respond to a lovely song and a great performance.
Did you always know your style and what you wanted to be? A lot of artists struggle with that in the beginning, but it seems to me you always had a vision of the sound that you were looking for. Was that as natural as it appeared?
I think with me, one of the artists that I love is Prince, but the thing is that his music is definitely strongly diverse, but what ties it in is it's him, and it's his character and his soul, if you like. And I always wanted to put that in the music, and I have something to say. And I think if you've got something to say, that does help. It helps because it permeates through all your music, and you don't necessarily have to know straight away what that is. Some people do. Some people are like, right, I'm going to be in a heavy metal band, and this is what they listen to. But some artists are experimental, and I think that's okay too. It's okay to an extent not to know, because then you can bring new stuff to the world,
At what point, though, does your head get up your backside when you ask the audience to watch you back for 2 hours because you're going to face the other way because you don't want to look at them as Prince regularly does? That's a bit strange, isn't it? Or is that just an act?
I think that if you're the kind of artist that does that, that's your character, and that probably was always there. And a little bit of power through fame can accentuate it, but it was always there, Let's take someone like Stevie, who's a massive artist and an amazing musician. He never does that, So
it's a bit pompous, isn't it?
Well, it's down to the person. I would never dream of doing that. I appreciate the fact that people actually paid for tickets and they're in the room to listen to your music that you spent that time making. How dare I then just be like pompous with them? That doesn't make any sense. That's like, But then each to their own.
Listen, I've so loved talking to you. Thank you for your time. Truly, How Could I? It's been with me through my entire radio career, and I just love that song. You're such a talent, and this new album really is wonderful. ENCORE is the new album by Andrew Roachford, and you can hear all the tracks from Family Affair to Under the Bridge, which is just glorious. Your song is totally his own, and of course you end with Imagine, which has got to be one of the greatest and most beautiful songs to sing ever.
Well, it's amazing, it's very soulful. And I'd like to also mention I'm going out on tour from late Feb, so you can catch me on the road, anywhere from Plymouth through to London. Look out on my website, roachford.co.uk. I'm not great at selling myself, but I'll do it. I'll do my best.
I'm really looking forward to seeing you in Birmingham at the Glee Club on the 16th of March. You can also see him at the Manchester Academy on the 18th of March and Bristol on the 19th of March. Andrew, great to talk to you. Thank you for your time.
Take care, mate.